Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you how I did this East Dock sign from Jurassic Park. That's the sign that Dennis Nedry hits with his Jeep before getting eaten by a Dilophosaurus. So the first thing I did was check online on different forums to get the right template or picture. And I also paused this scene here. And as you can see, it's a little bit on the side, the sign. So I stretched and skewed it until the circle was nice and round, and I used that to trace the boat and the island. And then for the lettering, I think I got those from the forum mostly. For dimensions, I ended up making it about 3/4 of the actual size. So I took the picture on my phone, mirrored it on my TV, stretched it and skewed until I had the right dimensions, and then I just traced it right on top of the TV. Two of the forums that I've used was JurassicParkJeep.com and GPMotorpool.com. So those two had some nice images that I could trace a lot of stuff from. So after I finished tracing the outside on a 1/2 inch piece of plywood, I just took out the jigsaw and started chopping away. And after cutting and sanding, I primed everything. And for the paint, I went a little bit all over the place. Some paint that I've used were oil paint, some water paint or acrylic, and some of them didn't really stand on top of other ones too well. So if you're doing it yourself, make sure you use the same kinds of paint for everything. And here I ended up putting the little tape for the arrows here the wrong side. So this is how you want to do it. Put the tape on the inside. And one way I would have saved a lot of time and trouble, and this I only figured out later on in the project, was instead of drawing your boat or whatever design you're at, instead of drawing that, then putting the tape on the inside of that, like I did here, you would put the tape first, then draw, let's say, the boat on top of the tape, use an X-Acto knife, cut where you drew the pencil line, and then rip off the tape wherever you're going to want the paint to go. That would have been a lot easier. And as you can see here, when I started peeling off this tape, some of the paint was peeling off too. So that's why you want to make sure you use the same kind of paint so that they mix together and stick well together instead of peeling off. And then there was just little imperfections here when I peeled off, so I just wet a piece of paper towel and then scraped to be more precise. And same thing from here. I probably should have put the tape first, then draw on top of it, and use an X-Acto knife to go right over where my pencil lines are before peeling it off. And for this one, I got pretty lucky. When I peeled off the tape, none of the paint came along with it. So this here should be the right way to do it. So you put the tape, you trace where you want your letters or whichever part you're at, and then you cut those letters and you peel them off. And as you can probably see how slow and careful I'm trying to be here, that's because the black paint really isn't sticking well on the white paint that's underneath. So every time I start pulling on it, it really wanted to come right off. So the next fun part was airbrushing. So I'm not a pro at airbrushing. I just got this off of Amazon for I think $60 or $70. And basically the East Dock letters fade from one color to the other. It goes from whitish to yellow to orange to red. So you just mix your different colors and you try to blend them away. You don't need an actual color orange, because when you start to put the red color on top of the yellow, it goes orange until you get more red, and then it finally becomes red. And the inside of each letter need to have a red line through them. And I debated if I was gonna airbrush that, but in the end it was just so much easier to just draw the lines and use a Sharpie to make the actual lines inside. And next thing, if you can see, the black part is nice and shiny and the letters aren't. So I wanted everything to be as equally shiny. So I used the varnish here, and it really did work well. Everything does look much better after, when everything's as glossy from one part to the other. But it also made me almost ruin my entire project. I think the varnish was oil-based, and I was half expecting this, but when I started to roll the varnish on top, the marker started to smudge. And I cut it almost just in time, so it didn't have time to do too much damage. But if you look at the C, as soon as the roller goes over it, it smudges to the right. And if I had passed a second or third time, then it just would have made a huge mess. So I wasn't too sure what to do after it started smudging. I can't really take off the paint one way. So I just kind of tried to cut my losses, took a marker, went over where the letters were again, and you can just slightly see some smudges. And for the stand, I kept it pretty simple. I just took some 2x4 for the bottom part and some 4x4 for the top part. And in each one I just put 2 screws to hold everything together right there. And after that, so the big 4x4, it just slides right into place like that. I didn't bother putting some bolts or anything there to hold it in place, because I want it to be removable so that I could store it a little bit easier. And the 2 screws that holds the island in place, I put them a little bit towards the top of the island so that when I put the boat over it, it hides them. And I didn't want to put the screws on top of the boat either, and ruin my my beautiful boat. So I put the screws in the back. Just put some tape on top to hold everything together while I get the right placement, and after that everything held in place well. And to put up the actual east dock sign part, I just used 2 black screws, so I didn't have to paint them or anything. So the next thing, when I spin the arrow, I wanted it to squeak like it did in the movie, so I tried rusting 2 pieces of metal together. That didn't work, so I just tried using different drill bits to get the right diameter so that the screw would actually do that nice squeaking noise, like you can hear in the video, which seemed promising, but in the very end it didn't work. And this little piece of wood here, that's to hold the arrow a little bit more forward so that it doesn't rub as much on the stand behind it when it spins. And as you can see here, the squeak was still perfect, which is what I was hoping that it would end up doing in the very end. But after spinning it quite a few times, the hole just got a little bit bigger, and now the only squeak-ish that you hear is just the back of the arrow rubbing against the wood part of the back. And as the arrow spinned, the screw there was starting to scratch the arrow itself. So I just took a file filed away the edges, and that fixed that problem. And that's the final spin result right there. I put a few felt pads underneath because I wanted to be able to display it indoors or outdoors. So this is the final product. So overall, I am quite happy with how it turned out. Look-wise, I think it's pretty spot on. And again, my only regret is that the squeak's not quite as nice as I wanted it to be, but I guess it could be worse. But really, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't hesitate to click like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully see you guys in the next nerdish project that I make. Thank you, and have a great day.